Hey guys, this is Sumuk from TechPP back with another video wherein today we're going to be spending our day with the newly launched Realme 6. And the reason I'm speaking soft is because it's currently 3 a.m. and I've just left from home. I'm on my way to the airport to take a flight to Mumbai for a meeting. So I thought it would be nice to spend the day with the phone today and see how it lasts throughout the day. Let's see how the performance is, how the battery lasts, how the cameras are, and just our general overview of the Realme 6. So I've just unplugged the phone a couple of minutes back. I'll put the current battery stats on the screen right now, and I'm going to be using the phone for a fair bit throughout my journey. So let's see how it does, and I will see you around once I get to the airport.
Many hours later.
So it's 1:20 right now, and I am in Mumbai. I just got done with my meeting, and I have been using the Realme 6, and my experience with it thus far actually has been really good. So let me begin with the battery. It's holding pretty fine. It's 1:20 p.m. as I already mentioned, and it's on 69% now. I've used the phone for a fair bit. I'll put the battery stats right now on the screen. So a couple of things that I noticed is that the display is actually really nice. You get a 90 hertz panel, even though it's an IPS LCD display. It's not AMOLED, and you also get the hole punch cutout on the left corner, and that is something that I personally prefer rather than having it on the right. And I somehow feel that a single punch hole makes more sense than having a dual punch hole for that immersive effect. So yeah, I've been liking the display a lot, except for the fact that for some reason this is not exactly just to do with the Realme 6, but Realme phones in general seem to have a very bad oleophobic coating, or maybe even a lack of oleophobic coating, which actually takes away from the experience of using the really smooth display. So I think it would be better if you get a screen protector, a different one than what comes pre-installed in the box. I think a glass screen protector would help the cause. So other than that, the battery is holding up pretty well. The build quality is actually really nice, and this is plastic, but the design is really done well, just like we've been expecting from every Realme device that comes out. And also I like the size. It kind of fits nicely in the hand, and also the fingerprint scanner on the side has been fast in my experience, except for the fact that I kind of find it loosely fit. I don't know if this is just to do with this phone, or actually any phone that houses a side mounted fingerprint scanner. I've realized that the fitting is kind of loose. There's a slight give, but yeah, you'll get used to the placement as and when you keep using the phone. So these are the observations for now, and if there's anything else that I encounter, I'll keep updating throughout the day. So yeah, stay tuned.
The next day.
Hey guys, so it's the next day right now, and I would like to apologize for that because I was really exhausted when I returned home last night. Single day returning from going and coming back from a certain place, flying down gets really tiring. So that was the reason I could not complete the video, and I also could not capture the final battery stats due to that the phone turned off when I was going to sleep. So yeah, that happened. So I'm going to give you my approximation of the battery life at the end of the video. And I had spoken about some things like the display, the build quality, etc. I would just like to add on to my experience about this particular phone, which is the Realme 6. And I'm sorry, there might be some noise in the background because of some construction work that's going on. So yeah, let's ignore that. And getting back to the phone, I would like to speak about how the phone has performed in my usage. So my general usage involved a lot of WhatsApp, a lot of Twitter, and some YouTube as well while I was commuting within Mumbai yesterday. And I had also offlined a couple of videos on Netflix, and I was watching that on the plane while the phone was on airplane mode. And due to that, I was able to achieve a really good screen on time number, because the phone was on airplane mode. When there's no radio, there's not a lot of battery consumption. So the performance has actually been really good. It's very solid. Now this phone comes with the MediaTek Helio G90T chipset, and it's the same SoC that we saw on the Redmi Note 8 Pro from last year, and that phone was a champ with regards to performance, and so is the Realme 6. Now you won't find any issues with regards to launching apps or switching between them, or even PUBG for that matter ran really well. Now the issue with PUBG is something that we even saw on the Realme Note 8 Pro, and that is that there are some skipped frames, especially in hot drops, or if there are a lot of enemies around you. You can feel that slight stutter that is there. It's not a very bad experience. You can get away with it, but if you are a serious PUBG player, you want to get into the competitive scene, and you play with a lot of passion, then I don't think that this device will actually completely satisfy your need. But yeah, PUBG performance is actually pretty nice. You even get the 60 FPS frame rate option, which is fantastic, especially on a price range like this. So yeah, that's about the PUBG gameplay. Also during PUBG, if you play Claw, we noticed that there was no lag in the touch response. That was pretty good. And also the if you play Gyro, then there was no issues even with the gyroscope responsiveness from the phone. As I've already mentioned before, that this is a 90 hertz panel, but you cannot really make use of that high refresh rate during a lot of games like PUBG. But if you're just scrolling around, it's a really nice experience. It's a treat to the eyes, and once you kind of get used to this high refresh rate, it's really hard to go back to your conventional 60 hertz. So that was about performance. And let's now speak about the cameras. Now at the back you get a quad camera setup with a primary shooter of 64 megapixels, and the camera output in our experience was actually really nice. Now the detailing is there. That's because you have a really high megapixel count, and just as with every Realme smartphone, we observed that the colors were not very natural. They were very highly saturated and contrasty. You know that punchy look that you get, and yes, it does look kind of pleasing to the eye, but again, that's like a personal preference, whether you like natural looking shots, or you like over processed shots that are really nice to see. But yeah, that is something that we observed consistently. Also, the dynamic range at times was slightly out of place when there was a lot of sunlight in the background. But yeah, in general usage, in at least in daylight, the 64 megapixel shooter did actually very well. There is even a wide angle shooter, and that one was also surprisingly nice. Again, this is in daylight. The color parity is not there, but the details are pretty nice even on the wide angle lens. Also, moving on to low light, you do get a night mode, of course, which is built into the camera app. And what we observed is that in low light, there's a lot of light flares. If you have multiple light sources that you're capturing in the frame, a lot of light flares, as you must be able to see on your screen right now with regards to the photo samples. That is something that I think, not sure if that can be fixed via software update, because I think it's more of the camera hardware thing. But yeah, that's what it is. Other than that, actually the exposure is handled really well. The details are present, and overall it's a pleasing shot to look at, except for the light flares aspect of it. And with the wide angle lens as well, you can use the night mode, and while the images are very noisy, they're still usable just for your reference sake. Yeah, so that was about the rear cameras. Also, the camera app which you get is your standard Color OS or Realme UI, which is what it is now. So you get your standard night mode, pro mode, photo mode. You also get a 64 megapixel dedicated mode to go along with it. So yeah, that is pretty much it about the cameras. Also at 2x zoom, the phone does manage to take some decent looking pictures, which is again nice to see at this price range. And yeah, also let's speak now about the front facing camera. And with the front facing camera, you get actually the punch hole kind of design, so there is no notch. It's a single camera, and the image output is actually nice. The skin tones are surprisingly good. Usually with these phones, we observe that the beautification adds a lot of smoothing and kind of makes your skin look artificial. But the selfies on the Realme 6 actually manage to look good, and even the exposure in the background was handled pretty well. So that was it about the cameras. Now, finally, moving on to the battery life before we speak about some minor miscellaneous things. So, the battery life on the Realme 6 again has been really nice. So, you get about, let's say, around 6 hours of screen on time on general usage. That's what you should be able to achieve. Now, I got a really high number of around 7 to 7.5 hours, and the reason behind that was, as I said, I used the phone on airplane mode for a long time, watching content, and that really shot the numbers up. But on in a real life usage scenario where you would have radios on all the time, you can get about 6 hours of screen on time, at least as per my calculation, on mixed usage, that is with Wi-Fi and mobile data for mixed period. So that is about battery life. Also, the really nice aspect about it is that you get a Type C port and there is support for 30-watt fast charging, and that is amazing given the price point the Realme 6 is going to launch at. I think this probably is or would be the fastest charging smartphone at this price point, which is great. Of course, the Redmi Note 9 series is going to come up. Let's see how well that fares. So yeah, the battery life on the Realme 6 is a really nice addition or a feature that you get. Also, let's move on to some smaller details now. While playing PUBG or while using the phone for an extended period of time, especially outdoors, I observed that the phone did get really warm to touch, and I think that is the MediaTek G90T is to be blamed for it. MediaTek chips have been notorious for getting warm, and the G90T kind of follows that tradition, unfortunately. Now, this is not something you'll observe with normal daily usage. Like if you're just going through social media apps or watching videos, you will not observe it very. You won't specifically feel the warmth in your hand, but if you use it for extended periods of time, especially outdoors, or you're gaming for a long period of time, then you will see that the phone gets slightly warm. And we were using it without the case, and if you put a case on, I don't think that should really be an issue. Also, something that I've already addressed before is that the screen is rather rough, the friction is high, so the experience of scrolling isn't as good as it should be, given that there is a 90 hertz panel. So that is something Realme needs to work on, the quality control of the display. And you can just put a glass screen protector on it, and that should fix it. Also, you get a single bottom firing speaker, which is adequately loud, but not really good enough for a wholesome music listening experience. And the headphone jack is there, and the output is just normal, nothing special about it. We tried it with the Mi dual driver earphones, and then the output was pretty good. So that I think should wrap up our review of the Realme 6. Also, yeah, there is wideband L1 support for people who are wondering, and there is carrier aggregation. I got 4G plus signals even in Mumbai and in Bangalore, and there is a VO Wi-Fi support as well for those of you wondering. And yeah, I did watch a lot of content on this display, and I did really enjoy this phone while I was using it. Its bigger brother, the 6 Pro, I think that actually is my favorite smartphone. You should be waiting for the review that should come out ideally day after tomorrow. That's when the embargo lifts. I'm not allowed to speak a lot about it, but yes, if your budget does permit you to extend a little bit, then I think you should wait for our Realme 6 Pro review. Talking about the pricing of the Realme 6, now Realme seems to have done some internal changes with their brand strategy, and the number series, which is the Realme 6, now slots in where the Pro series used to be. So this will not come at a really affordable price tag. We're assuming that the Realme 6 might be priced somewhere around the 12 to 13,000 rupee price mark. And I think for that price, at least as of now, the Realme 6 is a really nice smartphone to purchase, especially if performance is high on your priority list, and you also get that really nice 90 hertz display, great battery life, and really fast charging. I think cameras are more of like a 7 out of 10. Especially in good lighting, it does well, but in low light, also it kind of does well, but it loses out on where there are a lot of lens flares. So that's pretty much it. Also, one more important thing for a lot of people is that there is no completely working Google camera port yet for this phone. That's partly due to the MediaTek chip. We did try a version that was made for the Redmi Note 8 Pro, but it did not work really well. It kept crashing. So yeah, once that is available, maybe the cameras will improve by a good margin. But yeah, it is what it is for now. So hope you like this video. Make sure you hit the like button if you did, and please share it with your friends in case they are planning to purchase a Realme 6 for themselves. If you have any queries, then feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you around.